So again, I'm doing how do the health risks of vaping compare to cigarettes? Now, here's some basic health risks of cigarettes. Increased chances of getting cancer, lung diseases, diabetes, and increased tuberculosis risk. That's just what I found through the CDC. But to the right, I have a more in-depth chart of what effects of cigarette smoking are. Most of it, leads to cancer, which I'm sure a lot of us already knew. Now, the health risks of vaping or e-cigarettes are a lot less clear than cigarettes because of how much less time e-cigarettes have been around. There is no definitive proof of major health concerns with vaping, but some data points do suggest that it could potentially be similar to health effects that nicotine and cigarettes cause. There are still some slight effects, which are to the right, such as mouth and throat irritation, coughing and wheezing. And as of now, these are just short-term effects. We also have the raised blood pressure and raised heart rate, which tie back into with the effects of nicotine. But again, vaping has no known long-term effects that are major health concerns as of this point. Now, despite this, there is evidence that suggests major health concerns with vaping. In 2019, there were about 1,000 previously healthy individuals that developed very serious lung injuries, which would lead to hospitalization and even lead to some dying in October of 2019. Now, the major link between all these victims were that they each admitted to vaping nicotine or THC. This made the FDA start, testing samples of different vape products, and it actually led them to believe that a possible cause of the lung problem was vitamin E acetate, which they found in a lot of the THC vaping cartridges. I think it was something like 70 to 80% of the cartridges contain this. So, because of how frequently they saw the samples of the vitamin E acetate, they started thinking maybe this could be what's causing this unusual lung injury. Now, to go in even further than that, more evidence suggests that in February 2020, the CDC confirmed 2,800 cases of e-cigarette or vaping use associated lung injury, and there were at least 68 deaths that were attributed to this condition. Now, what was interesting was that the CDC identified vitamin E acetate yet again, but this time it wasn't just found in the vaping cartridges. It was actually found in all lung fluid samples of the patients that had this condition. Now, I want to go back to my point earlier on. I think it was in the background. A lot of the youth believe that, vaping is a more safe way. It's a safer alternative to smoking because they believe it doesn't contain nicotine, or, the vapor is much safer. However, thanks to the CDC again, they found that 99% of the e-cigarettes sold in the tested venues in the United States actually did contain nicotine. And what was interesting was that some of these labels didn't mention anything about nicotine while containing it, and others actually marketed their product as containing 0% nicotine, again, despite having it in their product. Most e-cigarette solutions contain, now I can't get it out of my head, nicotine is up there. And we also have flavorings, but this includes diacetyl, which I talked about before. It is a chemical that is linked to very serious lung disease, and it could lead to very, very major health concerns. It also could deliver heavy or toxic metals when inhaling, also can expose you to cancer-causing chemicals, and propylene glycol, which is a food additive and is used in pharmaceutical drugs and food, and it is FDA approved, but it is not so certain that it is safe to inhale, which is why there's some questions with that. Now, the conclusion here, you know, cigarettes have been around for hundreds of years, um, and they were only deemed as harmful for you around 1964. So with e-cigarettes only coming out in the early 2000s, really, and being put on the market, it leaves us with not really enough information to determine whether or not it is a safe alternative to smoking. And I mean, I knew somebody that said they smoked in third grade because they didn't know how harmful cigarettes were, and she had a lot of friends that did it as well. And it wasn't until 1964 that they realized, that everybody realized how harmful it could be to you and how detrimental it could be to your health. So, I mean, we already see some similarities between cigarettes and e-cigarettes. So I believe that within the next 20, 30, I mean, maybe even 50 years, we'll start seeing more major health concerns arise, and it will be not so much as evidence for this possibility of health concerns, but it will be definitive health concerns. So, although, it's not definite right now, I do think that we will see more of that in the future. And right now, I do think it is also safer to just be sure to stay away from that stuff and also make sure to be aware of what you're intaking. You never know what the product is containing. That CDC found that 99% of them contain nicotine, and a lot of them didn't even advertise it and advertised that they didn't contain any at all. So, it really shows how people need to be more aware and make sure they know what's being put in their body because it could be very harmful.